Hey VC, my name's Harvey and welcome to the second video update for my channel Spinning the Black Circle. This particular video update is about how to build a second-hand vinyl record collection. So I hear a lot of talk about the prohibitive nature of building a record collection, and that's in part true. So a single vinyl LP in the UK would typically cost price point around £20 to £30, so equivalent of 35 to 40 US dollars. But on the other end of that spectrum, the second-hand vinyl record market is thriving. So whether that's via record fairs or local second-hand record stores if you live in an urban city area, or car boot sales, or an online forum such as Discogs, you really can build a fantastic collection for not very much money. So I thought I'd demonstrate that, and I could have done that in one of two ways. I could have picked the 5 albums that nobody had ever heard of, but I thought a more effective way of doing that is to show that you can buy some really landmark releases for not very much money at all. So let me do that now. There are 5 albums to show you, and I'll walk through each one, where I bought them, how much I paid for them, and how I restored them to sound the best they could. So the first is a landmark release by Jackson Browne, a renowned 70s US songwriter. It's called The Pretender. It's released on Asylum Records in 1976. Produced by John Landau, who was the co-producer of many of Springsteen's classics in the 70s. Tragic backstory to this album is that it was recorded in the aftermath of Jackson Browne's the suicide of Jackson Browne's wife. So the tones and textures of this album are understandably reflective, and it's a very personal set of songs. Features obviously the classic title track, The Pretender, which directly addresses his life following the suicide of his wife. It features, rightly so, in Rolling Stone's 500 greatest albums of all time list. And this was £1. It hit a record fair about 5 miles outside of Birmingham. Bought it about 3 years ago. In terms of when I was buying it, what did I look for? So there's a little bit of ring wear on the back of the sleeve and a little bit of a chip where a pricing sticker has been on the sleeve. Other than that, it's just in fabulous condition for £1. There's demonstrably not much in the way of wear and tear around the actual spindle where you'd place the record, and there aren't any gouges, scratches, or obnoxious marks anywhere on the record. So I did clean it up considerably, and I'll demonstrate how I do that towards the end of this video. But Jackson Browne, major label, fantastic. One of his signature releases, The Pretender, for £1 on vinyl. Just incredible. Second album, 5, is probably one of the most well-known albums in history. Their Greatest Hits by the Eagles, also purchased for £1 from a record fair. This was released in 1976 between one of these nights and Hotel California. So before the release of Hotel California, and just demonstrating what a hit machine this band was. On here you have Take It Easy, Already Gone, Desperado, One of These Nights, Tequila Sunrise, Take It to the Limit, the ballad Best of My Love, and that's before the release of Hotel California. So I'm sure you've heard this album, or heard most of it in various forms anyway, but for £1 this will blow away any digital copy. The interesting thing about Eagles in the 70s was whether it was the instructions they give the mastering engineers or how they recorded and mixed the album, but I haven't heard on vinyl a 70s Eagle release, either US or UK pressing, that hasn't sounded fantastic, and this is no exception. So what I'll do when I find the release that sounds that good is I'll archive it in one of these anti-static bags. So these aren't particularly expensive, probably talking about, you buy them in bulk, but you're probably talking about 75 pence to £1 for one of these Nagauka anti-stat sleeves. So I use various brands, but this is one of them called a Nagauka anti-stat sleeve, and that will, after you've wet cleaned it and obviously every time you dry clean it when you play it, that will archive the record. There isn't a single click or pop, audible click or pop anywhere on this album. More importantly, the music is fantastic. It's really well mastered, and it cost £1. So Eagles, Their Greatest Hits. Yes, it's a very obvious release, but fantastic for £1. Next, the second album by a soul legend, Donny Hathaway, self-titled LP. unfortunately double the cost of the previous two albums. This was a whopping £2 on vinyl from a second-hand record store here in Sutton Coldfield named Psychotron Records. It's a German release. It looks like it's a fairly early release, produced by Jerry Wexler and Arif Mardin, who are the head honcho producers, or were the head honcho producers at Atlantic Records at the time. I mean, this is just a sensational album. This guy was at his peak on his second album vocally, and in terms of the arrangements, it's just superb. It's mostly cover versions, but you know, he makes every song his own. The key song for me on this is his version of Leon Russell's "A Song for You." It's probably one of the greatest vocal soul performances I've ever heard. So this was £2. It's in good but not great condition. Certainly, as soon as the music starts playing, you forget anything about background noise, crackles or pops. But for £2, a Donny Hathaway classic. Again, you could probably pick this up in most record stores. It won't be difficult to source, and certainly you'll be able to find it on Discogs for just a few pounds. Penultimate LP is slightly more left field, but it's by a early 90s funk rock trio named Stevie Silas Colour Code. So I'd probably place this, you know, remember that funk rock, for those who can remember that funk rock revival in the early 90s at the time of Red Hot Chili Peppers and Fishbone. It's along those lines. It's kind of influenced by Parliament and P-Funk, but with a commercial rock slant to it. I've no idea why this guy wasn't a mega star. This is the chap who's the band leader, Stevie Silas. He's a guitarist, very Hendrixy style to both his guitar playing and his vocals, but much more commercial than Hendrix in terms of the outlay. Produced by Bill Laswell, should have made him a mega star. I believe he's still active. He's recorded a few solo albums in the preceding decades, but this should have made him a household name. And this was £2 on vinyl. Again, it's Psychotron Records in just down the road from me. So Stevie Silas Colour Code, not difficult to track down. Again, if you can't find it in a local record store, easily available on Discogs, should have been a star. Lastly, probably the best bargain I've ever picked up. Yes, it's an obvious, well-known LP, but Roxy Music's Avalon was £1 from a bargain bin. It was in a pretty dreadful state when I found it. It was covered in dust. It was fingerprints all over it. Looked like it had been sitting in the cat's tray in someone's house. The cover was hanging off. But here's the key. I looked at that album, took it out of the sleeve, and I couldn't see any gouges, scratches, or visible scratches. It looked like it was dirty. So here's the key. So what I'll do is, you find that sort of LP. You want the music, but you realise you're gonna have to do a bit of work to restore it. So what I use is one of these things. This is a wet cleaner called a Nosti anti-stack cleaner. So what you do is you unscrew these things which hold the record together. So these are a clamp. You put the record in there. I'm not going to demonstrate it obviously because it's not wet at the moment. And you have a special fluid that you put in the centre here that you get with it, but you can obviously replace it after a few goes. And it has camel hair brushes in the centre. And what you do is you turn the record on these spindles, and it has a coagulating fluid in it that draws the dirt out of the grooves into the bottom of this. So much more effective than dry cleaning. This, for I think it was £50, has restored so many albums. So you wet clean it, and underneath the wet cleaner you have a rack, and you place it on the rack for probably about 2 to 3 hours to be on the safe side. When it's dried, if that record wasn't scratched, and if it was just dirty, I promise you it will sound pristine. And that's exactly what happened with the Roxy Music LP. It's probably one of the reference albums in my collection in terms of I was demonstrating my music system. I'd play this because it sounds so good. And yes, it was recorded at Compass Point in Nassau, and yes, it cost something like £1 million for Brian Ferry and Co to record this album when it came out in the early 80s. But it was mastered by Aaron Chuckaverity, who's a renowned mastering engineer. It sounds amazing, and once I'd restored it, glued the cover back together. And for this, I used a premium archive sleeve, which is one of these MoFi It's still not too expensive, probably about 1.25 per sleeve. It works out that, but archive it in this, in that, I promise you, if you play that again, no digital copy could stand up, and very few records in my collection, even though that cost £1, can stand up to how Roxy Music's Avalon cost for £1 on vinyl. So what else do I do? So I'll place all of these albums in a outer protective sleeve too, with the opening at the side, so that again there's very little chance of dirt getting into that. So not only is it in an archive sleeve, but it's protected by one of these outer sleeves. And my habit of also archiving, certain details about the LP there. So I said I use various brands of anti-stat sleeves, and now I'm using these toner sleeves, which I bought from a local hi-fi store. But anything that you've cleaned up, you've taken care of, and you want to archive, inner sleeves can really make a difference to that. Okay, so what does all that tell us then? So yes, if you want to buy a brand new LP by a major artist that's just come out, you probably are going to have to meet the cost of that £20 to £30 price point. But if you're looking at its retrospective back catalogue releases by major artists, you could build a convincing collection for not much money at all. So those who are thinking about investing in vinyl, or just want to grow the existing collection with some classic releases, then get hunting. It's great fun. Searching through those bargain bins. Get something like I think these are called spin cleans in the US, but they're called Nasty anti-stack cleaners in the UK. Yes, you can pay £6-7 upwards of £1,000 for a vacuum model, and I'm sure that is even more effective. But my advice, if you're looking to do something on a budget that's really effective, is search in your bargain bins, get something that's a wet cleaner like this Nasty anti-stat, and then archive the releases in anti-stat bags, and honestly they will sound fantastic. So that's it for this update. I shall be updating again at the weekend. Thanks for listening. Press the subscribe button beneath this, comment and press like, and I'll see you soon, VC. Bye.